Hi, this is Richard Wheeler, and this is Richard Wheeler Works. It's a show where I work. I used to do this as a Twitch stream, not doing that as a Twitch stream now. And I'm getting to a part of this that I wanted to do for some time and haven't been able to. I've been working primarily on a project called If I Could See What You See, which is an open source surveillance pedagogy project, which is looking at publicly available information to make sense of the world of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and specifically looking at close target reconnaissance. And a lot of other episodes about that. But what I would like to do here is work on a segment that has been in the back of my mind for a long time, which I'm going to call FBO Forever, for reasons you'll see in a second. FBO was Fed Biz Ops. It's the way that, or the site where the government used to put out, U.S. federal government used to put out a lot of its requests for proposals or tenders, depending on what kind of language you use. And so the intent of this segment, when I do it, which is not going to be regular, it's just whenever it comes up, is going to be to try to look at this gobbledygook of federal contracting to see how does the government buy things. Some of it might be military related, some of it might not be. We'll see. But one idea I had was to do a kind of roulette thing, just get random words and put them in. We'll see if we do it that way. We have a topic I'm going to work on first, but before I jump into doing some research on government acquisitions in this specific area, I want to just show you a little bit about how things work. And I think that's what this episode is going to be about. And I want to start by looking at a small documentary on the government, well, I think of it as a documentary, on the government contracting process. Let's take a look here. Okay, so to get around copyright claims, I'm going to do a dramatic reenactment of this dialogue from the film War Dogs. Pretty sick, huh? So what, you sell these things to the Pentagon? I sell all kinds of shit to the Pentagon. Guns, bullets, body armor. Last week I shipped 400 gas masks to American Special Forces in Iraq. No shit. How long have you been doing this for? 2-3 months? And you make good money? Oh, fuck, man. Put it this way. I did over $200K in the past 8 weeks. And I'm only telling you that because you're my boy. I'm not bragging. Holy shit. Yeah, check this out. Fed Biz Ops stands for Federal Business Opportunities. Think eBay, but for war. They buy tanks on here? Bro, they buy everything on here. It was crazy. The government had a public website containing every military contract currently up for bidding. But I skipped the big ticket items and look for the small ball shit the defense giants ignore. Everybody's fighting over the same pie, but they're ignoring the crumbs. I live on crumbs, like a rat. And when you're dealing with the Pentagon, crumbs are worth millions. These listings seem to go on forever, and according to Ephraim, they did. Thanks, man. So I don't get it. If there's an entire defense industry, why would the Pentagon want to buy anything from you? Right. So the film War Dogs, but literally that's how I describe how some of these things work to people. I actually was at a doctor's appointment the other day, and I hadn't seen my doctor. He was a dermatologist, and I hadn't seen him for a while, and he was like, hey, don't you work in government contracting? And I said, yes, why do you ask? He said, well, I saw this movie War Dogs the other day, and I said, it's a documentary. Because really, that is how a lot of government contracting works, not all of it. In fact, most doesn't work like that. Only about 20% of what the United States federal government buys is put up for bid on a system like FBO, or now SAM.gov, the System for Award Management. As you can see in this informative splash page, SAM has brought together a lot of things. It used to be just that entity registration, well, not only, but that's a thing I knew it for. But now From beta.sam.gov on the right-hand side, you see contract opportunities. That's what we're looking at here. So, yeah, I don't want to see that message again. And I should schedule maintenance. That's a schedule. Recognize and avoid phishing emails. Thank you. Sam underground maintenance Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. All right, that doesn't apply to us, but I'm glad I actually read that. All right, let's sign in here. Whew. Already, you see the excitement of dealing with this. So, yes, accept, and going to one-time security code. Interesting, they use alphanumeric as opposed to just numbers. Okay, so we're in. And what we're going to be looking for today are government acquisitions of podcasts, or rather the services to create podcasts. I don't think that government is buying the back catalog of Serial, but maybe they are. So we're going to go to search. Why am I doing this? A friend of mine who makes podcasts asked me the other day, hey, does the government, sort of thinking the answer would be no, is like, does the government buy podcasts or podcast services? And I said, yes, they do, and I'll take a look for you. And I was like, I might as well do a search when I do that. 14 results. Now this is active. Let's also, I said what I said, podcasts and apparel LLC. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so that's inactive. Okay, 89. So this is cool. We have active and inactive. I'm gonna just save this. Oh, I don't want to save the search. I want to save the results. I don't want to let me save the results. Okay. All right. So this is 89 results. We'll go through some of these. I'll talk through what I see here. Let's just okay. 12-month membership to the conference board. This is just buying access to podcasts. This is what we're looking for. Department of the Interior. So this is inactive. Podcast series production. Let's do. So what does all this mean? They've really improved this site vastly over what it used to be in some ways. In other ways, they made it worse. I can follow this, send me an email, and there's change, but this is inactive, so there probably wouldn't be one. General information, that's what we're looking at here. Notice ID is this alphanumeric code. That's not always an alphanumeric code. I don't know, sometimes people put different stuff in here, which is annoying. Also, these alphanumeric codes that look just like this can be for modifications, so it's confusing. Who is buying it? The Department of the Interior. So sub-tier in office, right? So there's a hierarchy here. So the Fish and Wildlife Service in the Southeast Regional Office is buying podcast series production. What are they buying? It's a total small business set-aside. That's interesting. Okay, so these things are, when you're trying to make sense of all this, important. NAICS code is the North American Industry Classification System. You hear people pronounce it different ways. That's the way it was pronounced when I heard it the first time, which was not in the context of doing work with the federal government. It was in the military context that NAICS codes are also used to classify industrial targets and other. Oopsie. So, it didn't say oopsie like that's a secret. It said oopsie like this. We target things in other countries. That's not a secret either. So NAICS code is that, and it's 6-digit codes, and we can take a look at a list of those later. PSC codes, or product service codes, are another. These things sometimes work together, sometimes don't. So part of what you're trying to figure out is, oh man, this is in Alaska, but it's the South. Oh, Arkansas. Hey, wait, isn't? Okay. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting my states of the Union postal codes. So, what are all these things? Let's take a look. Past performance experience, Fish of the Week podcast. Fish of the Week podcast. Okay. All right, your tax dollars at work, but this is where you'd look for. All right. Oh shoot! Did that just? Hold on a second. Sorry, I'm not prepared for this. Go. Can we? Let's see. Open link in new tab. Is it gonna? No, it's. Yeah. Here we go. Open in Firefox. That's fine. So, Fish and Wildlife Service Division of Contracting and something got cut off. This is interesting. There's a requisition number, which is an internal code. Interesting to me. Maybe not to you, but okay. This is the contracting officer, probably Joni Dutcher. That's Joni's phone number, where she is in Atlanta. Let's see, this says it's unrestricted, but the thing says the small business says that. Oh, this is the RFQ, request for quotations. All right. They deliver to Fish and Wildlife. So this is the customer. Yeah, so this is interesting. This contracting office, which is in Atlanta, is buying for Alaska. Fish and Wildlife Service, ARD, I don't know what that means. External Affairs, Anchorage, Alaska. Technical POC, so this is the customer, Sarah Bellario. Production of podcast series. Performance, pre-performance. 8/2/2021 to. All right. So this is a lot of like contract language. We're on page 419. Okay, so approximately 725 hours of production of podcast series. See statement of work. Provide ingredients of production. Okay. These are all FAR clauses. That's the Federal Acquisition Regulations, which is huge. Okay. Wait, did the FAR site go down? Yeah, it's so that they put in this. So this means they copied and pasted this from something else, and that link is dead. Thank you. All right, so that's all the. Let's take a look at the scope of work. This is a FAR. See, FAR. That's a FAR clause. Past performance experience. Fish of the week. I don't know why that's making me laugh so much. Okay. don't know if... hold on a second. I'm trying to... is it opening? Whoa, why is this not... Oh, I see. Let's see. Window capture. Add exist. Create new window capture. Okay, sorry, I'm doing a little bit of housekeeping as we got Microsoft Word. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Let's pull this up. Can you center this? Order, transform, DNS, filters. Oof, man. Okay. I just want this to be centered. That's so wrong. Transform. Center just right. Transform. Center. Yeah, there we go. That was close. Okay, so here we go. This is the statement of work. Fish of the Week podcast. Oh, you know what I really want to do though? I want to add. What's the channel logo and video camera built in? How do I do that? Image. Yes. Add existing channel logo. Oh my god. No, no, no. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is real. Yep. Sorry. This is comical. I mean, it's comical for me. I hope it's comical for you. There we go. Built in. This. All right. Finally. Okay, so. So, statement of work. Fish of the Week podcast series in production for Legacy Region 7, Alaska. The podcast, which airs weekly on Mondays, features a range of guests from employees to tribal leaders to biologists from the Alaska Department of Fish and Game and fish enthusiasts across Alaska. Oh, this sounds challenging. Okay, I'm required to seek for the professional podcasts are not easy. True. They require more than a microphone and an internet connection. Huh. This is a customer that knows what they want. Probably a customer that's tried to make podcasts and found that it's harder than they thought it was. And this is a justification. I'm guessing that language, that this paragraph is a justification for budget. Like, because somebody in, so don't, for all of you who may be watching and are like, I can't believe that the government is spending money to make a podcast. First of all, they have reasons here. They're talking about, because of the pandemic, they're working to identify storytelling mediums. They're trying to, do community outreach. Every government does community outreach, okay? Like it or not. And that's normal. I mean, you don't want just some faceless bureaucracy defending community outreach here. And people listen to podcasts. It's the world we live in. So but somebody inside many people inside the Fish and Wildlife Service, inside the Department of the Interior are like, are you fucking kidding me? You want us to spend money, taxpayer money, on a podcast? So do not fret, dear viewer. there are government officials who are right now indignant that this podcast is being made. However, this is language that probably won the day. That's my guess. Okay, so this is an example. So here's an example of the government, of what kind of podcast the government wants. Let's find another. Okay, so go back. What's the Fish of the Week podcast theme song? Okay. Fish of the Week podcast. I said what I said. Podcasts and Apparel LLC, the podcast authority. Veteran Outreach with Radio for Dayton Veterans Affairs Medical Center. Let's see, that's interesting. Audio video production equipment. That's okay. So let's take a look at this. Because this is clearly government, a user trying to build their own podcasts, right? Emission installation contracting command. Ooh, who's this for? I wonder. Man, they got a lot of kit here. Okay, so this is all equipment. I mean, we have connections to get some of this equipment. Fort Drum, New York. KO Directorate. KO, so contracting office in the Army is KO instead of CO, because CO also means commanding officer. CO means a lot of things. But to disambiguate the U.S. Army. Ooh, wait, what? Unison Marketplace. What is this? Well, I'll tell you what this is. There are all these specialized, like, marketplaces for things. So this is one. So sometimes the government will buy things and they'll just put it on SAM.gov, and sometimes they won't put it on SAM.gov at all. It's still publicly. Buyer is the MICC end user. Well, who is the MICC end user? Buy American Act. Terms. This is some FAR clauses and some other stuff. Okay. I don't know. Which would be interesting. See, I would want to try to figure out who the end user is, because then I'd call them and I'd say, like, okay, well, tell me about the podcast you're making. So the Major Command, AMC, Army Materiel Command. What is that? It's ACC. Notice ID is Polk JBE. Well, that's Fort Polk is in Louisiana. Right, place of performance. Oh, here we go. So, JRTC, Joint Reserve Training Center. Did that have a... well, it didn't have a... well, there's a lot of stuff to figure out here. So this has been... oh, this is active. So, this could go on for a while. We're 24 minutes. So these are codes are like the office. They're different things. They can be the office that bought it or the office that funded it, which can be the same office or it can be different. So sometimes one organization will fund or purchase through another for various reasons. So we don't know. Anyway, that's a podcast. Don't know what that is, but there's a so. Wait, but what? Okay, so this is what it was. These microphones. Mm-hmm. Ooh, this is interesting though. Look at this. Astroscope. There we go. Astroscope night vision variable gain adapter pair. Key features for a Nikon digital SLR camera 3rd generation intensifier. But these things are expensive. Expensive, I will tell you, thousands of dollars. But I thought they said something down here about Canon lenses. Huh. So we're getting a Canon lens, we're getting a Sony. They're getting a Panasonic Lumix Pro camera. Are they getting adapters to put these lenses on this camera? Well, so here's my guess. Joint Reserve Joint Readiness Training Center is a place where units go to spin up before they deploy. It's like a testing deployability. So, and this night vision adapter means that they're going to be hooking it up to night vision equipment, and so they can shoot at night. Okay, so my guess is they're making content. It may actually not be podcast content. It may be video content, which you could find on other. We'll get into where you can find that later. That's not really the point of this, but. Okay. Let's find another. That's interesting. This is that veteran outreach thing we saw. Friday Podcast LLC. Oh, entity registration. Okay, how do I remove that? Can I do more? Search all domain. Oh, I see. It did. I see. Entity registration. It's all mixed. See, I'm used to just looking for things. COD equipment. This is another thing from Fort Drum here. AV recording and reducing equipment. Hate crimes reporting publicity campaign, digital audio advertising, new bid. This is more, direct digital audio advertising services for FBI. Oh, take a look at that. I mean, you could go and look for audio, right? But that's very broad. FBIJEH. Hate crimes reporting campaign budget is managed by the Criminal Division in consultation with the Office of Public Affairs. Is a resolicitation. Oh, this is interesting. The hate crimes reporting campaign has been divided into 2 scopes of work in order to address the specific applicable markets and media channels intended. Okay. Let's take a look. Nice. The services may include, but are not limited to, music, podcast streaming services, or internet radio broadcasting. Not intended for third-party advertising and marketing services. This is a non-personal services contract. What that means is that personal services contract is like the FBI contracts directly with me, Richard Wheeler. That's not what it's saying. So this is a non-personal services contract. It's with a company. The government shall not exercise any supervision or control over contractor employees performing the services herein. The FBI has not yet determined which specific outlets, markets, or formats of digital audio advertising will be most effective. So let's compare this to the Fish of the Week. Obviously, Fish of the Week is a better project to bid on, all other things being equal, because they know what they want. They were much more clear. They want a podcast. There's going to be 50 a year. We've identified these people. We understand podcasts are complicated. We want you to. We have the agreement with Apple. Like, all those things. Green light, green light, green light. Fish and Wildlife Service, Legacy Region 7 in Alaska knows what's up. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Criminal Investigation Division does not. Okay? That is a. All other things being equal, if you were looking to do podcast work for the federal government, contractors must provide quotes for publicity campaigns through the advertising channels that total. Yeah, this is a bad solicitation. This should not be. This is not an RFP. I mean, this is an RFP, but this is bad, in my opinion, because they're fishing. Ironically, since we were just talking about the Fish of the Week, they're looking. They don't know what to do. They're like, tell us how you would do all these things. The amount of free work you would put in for the FBI to scope what this is would be. I mean, it'd be like weeks of figuring this out. And then you know what they're going to do? They're going to scrub it. They're going to do it again. They've already scrubbed it and redone it once, which is another red flag, right? So, not so into that. Yeah, this is more of that Veterans Affairs. USMS Media Monitoring. What is that? Podcast services. National Guard Bureau. It's been active. USPFO activity. Photo, map, print, publication, audiovisual, other sound recording industries. Interesting. So one of the things that you will notice is that there are different NAICS codes that we've seen. So this is the challenge: is that podcast is definitely a pretty specific word. If you search on people aren't going to call a podcast something else. I think. I'm guessing. So if you search on a keyword podcast, you will find people looking for podcasts. But other things, it can be confusing. And so what you'll find is that many different NAICS codes and PSC codes can be used to describe the same thing. So you got to really do a lot of digging. Because if you're doing a search by NAICS code, because if the thing you're working on is not easily searchable, the company that I work for, we do plain language writing, rewriting. It's kind of a mouthful. What does that mean? Well, we take copy or content or words that have been written by government agencies, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, that are intended to go on publicly facing websites or internal websites, but it's, words that somebody in the office wrote. But they're not professional writers, they're not professional editors. They haven't necessarily done user research to understand who their audience is. They're a person in a government office with a job, and they wrote a thing, and they did the best they can. But we've all read content that's been produced like this, and sometimes it's not understandable. Sometimes. So we take that and we rewrite it to be plain language. Make sure it's at a reading level, like grade level of reading that's appropriate. Make sure that there's not technical jargon in it. Make sure that there's consistent language across all the pages on a site. There's just a lot of quality control, quality assurance that goes into any kind of product, and we do that. But despite the plain language writing, can't remember, presidential directive, whatever it's called, plain language writing of 2010 that requires the federal government to have plain language writing, many departments, agencies, subunits, offices do not understand that this is a requirement, do not understand that they're bound by this requirement, do not understand how to buy it, how to find it. So if I'm going and looking for plain language writing, I'm not going to find it that often. I have to do a lot of things. So it's very different than saying who's looking for podcasts, because podcasts, it's the word and the thing, there's a tight overlap in the systems. So you don't really, you'd have a search. It's like just search for podcast every week if you're looking for this, in my opinion. Whereas for the stuff I look at, I'm looking at, combinations of makes, codes, and PSC codes, and, looking at specific offices. It's much more complicated. But it's, whether or not it's complex or not, it can't be complex, I think. Okay, so here it is. Let's see if they describe what it is. This one. This is National Guard Bureau, small business set aside, under $12 million. So, okay, contractors provide audio recording, editing, producing, publishing, as well as promoting and analytics services that will allow the Indiana National Guard to produce weekly episodes of the podcast, post episodes to external websites and social media platforms, market to audiences, both military and civilian, and report audience analytics and statistics. Well, what does this say? What's the title of it? Modification. What's the? Oh, okay, so these are questions people ask. Looking to double the audience at a minimum. That sounds that sounds ambitious. Deliverable schedule. Okay. So this again, so I would say so the Indiana National Guard definitely knows what it wants. But this is like a real full service thing they want here. Very different, I'd say, from the Fish and Wildlife Service and the Fish of the Week podcast. So I'm not saying that makes, in contrast to what I was saying about the FBI's solicitation, which is bad, hands down, and apologize to the contracting officer or officers who put it together. I think they got handed like a bill of goods by the customer at FBI, because that, like they were given poor requirements, is my opinion. And, contracting officers are incredibly overworked. The contracting officer workforce has dropped precipitously in the last 20 years, and the number of contracting actions have gone up. So they're completely overwhelmed. So when some rando, customer comes in and says, we want to do a podcast, and you've never bought a podcast before, that is challenging. So, they got to get it out the door as best they can, is what I'm trying to say. It's still bad, is what I'm trying to say. But that's not what I'm trying to say about this Indiana National Guard solicitation. This is it seems to be, I'll need to read into it in more depth, but it seems to be a pretty good solicitation. It's just, they're asking for more than the Fish and Wildlife Services. So you have to decide, is it worth going after for you? Much more complex, I think, to bid on. Let's do. Well, so we could keep going with that. And we've got 4 pages, and if I set this domains to contracting opportunities, then what's going on here? Words. Oh, yeah, inactive. So 70s. Oh, so most of those are opportunities. So yeah, still 3 pages and a bit. And some of those are, modifications and things like that. So just before I end for today, though, there's no time limit to this, but I will, obviously there's a limit, right? But let's take a look at two other sites, databases you can use to try to understand, not see what's active, but maybe understand the whole universe of government podcast acquisitions. Okay, so one is the awful, absolutely terrible site, the Federal Procurement Data System, FPDS. Okay, it's awful. Oh wait, what's it saying? Oh, reports module. They're going to get rid of this sometime, but SAM.gov. I haven't looked at this SAM.gov databank, so I'm not quite sure. Well, should I jump? I'll show you what it used to be, and then one day this will be gone, and we'll be happy. Easy search, where they're just totally... Is that ripping eBay or Google or both? It's just so awful. All right. So this is showing contract actions. So we were looking at contract opportunities. We were looking at the government soliciting for work to be done. This is money paid for work that was done. All right. So it's really important that you're looking at both, because you could go and say oh my God, they're buying all this stuff. Well, did they buy it? That's kind of an important question, because just like with large organizations in hiring, the government can say it wants to buy all sorts of things. Large organizations say, oh, we're hiring all these things. Well, are they always hiring all those positions? A lot of the time, they aren't. Right? So same thing here. Oh God, this is, can you even see any of this? It's so... Okay. There we go, that's a little better. So you can output this as a, or export this as a comma separated value. When did they close out? Yeah, I know, right? Let's do that soon. Okay, so what are some, let's take a look. with this contract action. Now, I'm pretty sure that when I go back, it won't work. Okay, 101. Let's look at the just view. So it's $49,135.23 was obligated. So all the kind of stuff that we saw about the scope of work and all that, that's not in here. This is just telling us that money was spent. So what was it spent for? Well, one thing you can do is take this. Oh, you can't copy and paste out of this. It's so terrible. Here we go. Let's. There we go. Whew. All right. So there are a lot of aggregator sites to go through, and GovTribe is one, and I don't subscribe, but I think there's a certain number I can do without subscription. So it's firm fixed price. So a lot of this is basically scraping from what we were just looking at. But yeah, this doesn't. So sometimes you can go in here and you can they'll have the original solicitation. This is a purchase order. So I guess, let's see, makes category, PSC code. Is there a base contract? Yeah, that's what you need to look. That's what I need to look at. Is like this. I think that this part, the P0000000, yeah, 45, is the purchase order. So is there a base contract? I don't know. Fundamental is what someone said. Base. All right, so we don't know about that, but we do know that the FEMA preparedness section. Funding Office, United States Fire Administration. All right. So that makes sense. It's probably something about wildfire preparedness. Podcast. All right. Well, so how you could use this then is to get an idea. Well, we don't know how big this is, but what one would want to do, what I would want to do, is go through these and try to match money spent with the scope of what I'm seeing in SAM.gov, right? So what does the government, this is something that you can't get in any other marketplace. You can figure out what does the customer pay. Now, it's not the customer like it's some unified body. Like there are some ways the government buys that every government department agency is buying from the same catalog, essentially. There's a schedule that the General Services Administration has, for example. There are many schedules, but let's say you're on a schedule to do a certain thing. Well, the price you offer on that GSA schedule is the same for any department, any agency. That's the ceiling. You could offer a lower price. But that's where the bidding starts, essentially. But in other cases, you may not know, well, what will they pay? Using FPDS is a way to try to determine that. What has the government? But it really works best if you have the original scope of work. So you can say, like, okay, well, this is what they want for it, this is what they paid for it, right? And you got to do more price validation to figure out, okay, well, will they pay that? Will this office pay that for this product or service? Will this other office pay the same thing? Or they pay that for it and it's at this size. What if it's bigger? But this, you have stuff to work with. The other thing you have to work with, let's say there's this red pixel ink. Okay. And this is the entity Dunn's number. That's the Dunn and Bradstreet number, which is supposedly not going to be in use, but it's when it's going to go offline, nobody knows. I don't know at this time is what I'm trying to say. Maybe somebody does know. I should not mistake my ignorance with general ignorance. That would be wrong. Recipient. Okay. So now we're going to look. So this company over here, Red Pixel, has done some podcasts for the Department of Veterans Affairs, from some subcomponent of the Department of Veterans Affairs. This site is called usaspending.gov. I just jumped right into it. And what this allows you to do is look at, it gives you some of the same information that FPDS does. In many ways, it's a far superior site, I'd say. In almost every way, it's a far superior site. But this is really where I'd probably go rather than FPDS, because it shows individual actions. And here we go. We can see these are the two. Wow, like 10 years ago, Red Pixel did some things for VA. Video podcast. All right. And then this is Prime Awards and Sub Awards. Okay. So you can also, let's reset search here. You can also, in USA Spending, do keyword searching. And boom. And you could do it by fiscal years. Government fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. You can do it by agency, all these kinds of things. Treasury accounting symbol is interesting. This is a code that tells you, that gets you farther into the books about where the money comes from. So, like, let's just look at, have there been any fiscal year 22, so starting 18 days ago, has anything been awarded? No. Okay, let's take a look at last year. Okay, so 14 podcasts were contracted, or 14 we know podcast was in the award 14 times. What was that? This was that here. Okay. Department of Homeland Security. Award details. Nothing. So again, this doesn't have the original purchase order. Let's go to Red Carrot here. Well, they've got new awards, but they've not got 24 new awards, but no. That's interesting. They're on a bunch of vehicles, meaning they have won spots on purchasing. The government makes what they're called purchasing vehicles. I'm trying to come up with another word because a lot of times we say purchasing vehicle doesn't make sense to anybody. It's like, let's say, Agency X it's like a Christmas fund, right? Like or Christmas account with the bank. You say, okay, well, put this money in here and you'll have it for Christmas. That kind of thing. Like we've earmarked certain funds for these purposes, and it's like saying your Christmas fund is with a certain store, right? Like, and so let's say if you give, in that case, there's some incentive for that we wouldn't get into, but like, the vehicle is saying this government organization is authorized to spend up to this amount of money for these things with these people, these organizations, these companies. But it doesn't require them to spend that money. And frequently they can buy other things too. But that is what my guess is. They've gotten on a lot of vehicles where there have been no actions that have gone to them in those vehicles. That happens. Well, that's transactions over time. I want to see. How do I see the? No, I think I've got to go to here. Right. Search. Search. Reset search. Time period. Recipient done's here. Done. Submit search. No, they do quite a. See the reverse business. Submit search. Okay, this is a lot of smaller value things. So what was this? 49,135 for a podcast. Programmer, advertising agency, broadcasting. Okay, interesting. So this just gets built in. They don't subcontract. Contract IDVs. I don't know what IDV stands for. Yeah, but that's, see, there's nothing's been obligated. Okay, so still no. Purchase order. Purchase order how? How did they? Is this on a schedule? Alright, well, here's what, set aside. 8A sole source, not competed under simplified acquisition procedures. Alright, we did it. They had a relationship with somebody who, because they are an 8A, which is a disadvantaged minority-owned entity, which is a status you can have for up to 9 years with a qualifying owner or ownership structure. That allows contracting officers to just do non-competitive awards up to a certain dollar, which is relatively large, millions of dollars. But that $49,000 is pretty small. It's a lot of work to do that for just $49,000. But that's how that worked. This is Richard Wheeler. This has been Richard Wheeler Works. See you soon.